Yes. Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. Welcome to this session where we discuss the Ahli Bank performance for the 2024. As usual, this session will be in two parts. The first part, the CFO will present the financial performance of the bank, and on the later session, we will take your questions. Before we start, I'll just briefly introduce the team here. My name is Saeed Al-Hatmi. I'm the CEO of Ahli Bank. On my right-hand side is Bilal Anwar. He's the Deputy CEO, Business Group. Next to him is Fahad Shaili, our CRO. This side is Hana Al-Kharousi, Senior GM, looking after the wholesale banking. Habib Al-Hamid is the investor relation. And then we have Shiram Bala, who is our CFO. So as I said, we'll start with the presentation from CFO, and then later on, we'll open the session for Q&A. Shiram.
Thank you, Saeed. A very good afternoon to everyone. Before we start this presentation, a general disclaimer. The purpose of this presentation is to discuss the performance of Ahli Bank for the year end 2024. The intention is not to give indication of future or any forward-looking statements. Oman's economy has done very well during the last few years post-COVID. Oman has had fiscal surplus for last consecutive 3 years since 2022. In 2024, the surplus ended at 540 million. The debt to GDP ratio has been brought around 34% from where around 40% in 2022. Oman's rating has been recently upgraded to investment grade by S&P. Oman's GDP also has recovered well past the COVID and is expected to grow around 3.1% in 2025. Moving on, the budget 2025 shows an overall revenue of 11.18 billion based on an oil price of $60 per barrel, an expense of 11.8 billion with a deficit of 620 million. However, it is expected to perform better based on the expected oil price soaring above $70 per barrel. Sufficient allocation has been done for various development initiatives in the budget, including private-public partnership programs and other national programs as mentioned in the slide. Move on. Oman's banking performance. Oman's banking sector has shown some strong credit fundamentals with total assets growing by 7.2% CAGR from 38.8 billion as of end of 2022, growing to 44.6 billion as of end of last year. Loans and advances grew by 5.5% CAGR during this period to reach 32.2 billion. Customer deposits during the same period has grown by 10.7% CAGR to reach 31.7 billion. The sector is well capitalized with an average overall. The sector is well capitalized with overall CAR at 18%. The profitability of all the listed banks were up by average 15.2% compared to 2023, and NPL ratio was 4.3%. Moving on, Ahli Bank has a professional and well-qualified executive management team, supported and led by the CEO, Mr. Saeed Abdullah Al-Hatmi, and guided by an experienced and knowledgeable board chaired by Mr. Hamdan Ali Nasser Al-Hinai. To ensure best industry practices and comply with regulatory requirements, 5 board-level subcommittees, namely Audit and Compliance Committee, Executive Credit Committee, Executive Risk Committee, Nomination and Remuneration Committee, and Digital Transformation Committee are at the board level. And 9 management committees have been set up for effective functioning of the bank. These are Ali Bank's vision, mission, and values. The values are innovation, integrity, responsibility, excellence, and sustainability. Based on the bank's vision, mission, and values, the strategic objectives and priorities have been set. The strategic objectives include growing our assets in a very prudent manner, diversifying our deposit base by increasing the number of customers and reducing the concentration, increasing our other operating income to the overall operating income level, and improve our operational efficiency through digitalization initiatives. Moving on. Ali Bank commenced its full-fledged commercial banking operations in 2007. Currently, it operates 49 branches, including 25 Islamic branches, and has 16 Ali Express multifunctional kiosks. The bank has a very strong institutional shareholding. The market share of the bank reached 9.5% in loan and in deposits 8.7% as of end of 2024. Since 2022, the assets have grown at a CAGR of 10.3% to reach 3.75 billion as of end of 2024. Deposits have grown by around 9.5% during the period to reach 2.76 billion. The net loans and advances have grown by 9.9% to reach 3.02 billion as of end of 2024. During 2024 alone, the bank grew its assets loan by 322 million and deposits by around 287 million. The bank continues to have NPL lower than the industry average of 4.3% at 4.1%. During 2024, the shareholders and board approved the MCB program, the Mandatory Convertible Bonds program, whereby part dividend was distributed as in lieu of dividend as MCBs. The MCBs shall be converted to shares at the end of their second anniversary. As part of the program in 2024, the bank issued 10.4 million of MCBs. During 2024, the bank also raised fresh AT1 capital of 40 million after exercising its call option on 20 million AT1 capital raised in 2019. During the year, Ali Bank has launched a lot of new funds like Islamic Money Market Fund, Balance Fund, and Real Estate Funds. The bank also participated in a lot of greenfield loans and financing. The bank continued to invest and progress on various digital transformation initiatives. The monetization ratio as of end of year was 94%, and female staff contribute around 40% of the overall staff of the bank. Moving on, the bank continues to deliver sustainable growth and consistent returns to the shareholders with a payout ratio of over 50%. ROE was at 11.1% as of end of December. The bank has one of the lowest NPL in the industry and has an efficient operating model with a 42.8% of cost to income ratio in spite of investment in digital program and branch expansion. The bank has a strong institutional shareholding as indicated in the chart to the right. The board has recommended a 5 paise share as cash dividend and 5 paise per share as MCBs. The MCBs carry a coupon of 6% and will be converted to equity at the end of second year. Bank has a strong financial track record as shown in the figure, as shown in this chart. Assets have grown by 10.5% CAGR compared to the industry average of 7. Moving on. The wholesale banking segment includes sector-specific teams of corporate and SME, offering full array of services. It also has a dedicated team for treasury and FI, supporting the corporate team and institutional customers. and investment banking teams handling asset management, corporate advisory, and brokerage divisions. Wholesale banking continues to contribute around 3/4 of the asset size of the bank and about 2/3 of the operating income of the bank. Wholesale banking assets have grown from 2.3 billion as of end of 2022 to 2.9 billion as of end of 2024. Operating income has increased from 61.8 million in 2022 to 71.3 million in 2024. Bank continues to focus on various sectors as part of the Sultan's diversion strategy and Vision 2040. The bank was part of many financing projects of national interest and also performed advisory role in many of the key national projects. Our retail banking segment consists of specialized team dedicated for retail, premium, private banking, and wealth management customers. This segment contributed around 1/4 of the asset size of the bank and 1/3 of the total operating income of the bank. Retail assets have grown from 733 million as of end of 2022 to 845 million as of end of 2024. The operating income has increased from 29.9 million for 2022 to 37 million for 2024. Retail branches also expanded to 49 branches at the end of the year, which includes 25 Islamic branches. Retail deposit contributed around 46% of the total deposit base of the bank. Moving on, Ali Islamic offers Sharia-compliant products and services catering to all customer segments, including institutional, corporate, SME, and retail customers. Ali Islamic have 25 dedicated branches. The gross financing of Ali Islamic increased from 498 million as of end of 2022 to 670 million as of end of 2024. Deposits increased from 479 million to 698 million as of end of 2024. Ali Islamic financing contributes around 21% of the loans and financing of the bank and 25% of overall deposits of the bank. Also, it contributes around 21% of the overall operating income of the bank.
That's a good account.
2024 was another successful year for Ali Bank. Some of the key milestones include the bank opening 3 new branches, 7 Ali Express multifunction kiosk, crowdfunding was introduced to Ali Islamic. The bank launched corporate credit cards and prepaid cards. The bank launched the personal finance manager for its customers, instant issuance of credit cards. The asset book grew by around 13.2%, crossing 3.7 billion mark. Retail deposits reached to 46% of the overall deposits. The market share of loans reached to 9.5% and deposits reached to 8.7%. The bank's operating income crossed the 100 million milestone to reach 108 million for the year 2024. Some of the key metrics, which some of them we discussed all, but I will again bring it here. Total assets grew by 13.2% to 3.755 billion as of end of 2024. Loans and advance grew by 12.2% to 3.02 billion. Customer deposits grew by 11.6% to reach 2.763 billion. Equity grew by 7.1% to reach 558 million. Operating income increased by 9.9% year on year to reach 108.31 million. Impairment charges for the year was 13.4 million. Operating expenses increased by 7.6% due to investment in branches and digitalization. The cost income ratio was brought down to 42.8% from 43.8% over the previous year. The profit after tax was 41.66 million, which is a 14.3% growth over the previous year. ROE was increased to 11.1% from 10.7% from the previous year. ROA was 1.2% compared to 1.1% the previous year. The NPL ratio was at 4.1% compared to 3.9% in the previous year. CAR ratio was 15.7% and CET1 was at 9.8%. However, the board has approved the capital raising of 50 million, which was disclosed in the market. Moving on, the operating income crossed the 100 million mark to reach 108 million as of end of for the year 2024. Other income to the total income increased to 31.8%. Excluding the one-offs, it's still around 25%. Net interest spread reduced marginally to 1.7%. However, it's expected to increase from Q1 2025 onwards. Cost to income ratio was brought down to 42.8%. ROA increased to 11.1%. ROA remained at 1.2%. Loans and gross loans increased to 3.1 billion with a 9.9% CAGR as of end of 2024. The NPL ratio was 4.1% compared to the industry average of 4.3%. The overall coverage was 80%. The overall assets staging was stage 1 comprised of 82%, stage 2 13.9%, and stage 3 3.5%. The chart below shows the well-diversified portfolio of the loans and financing across various sectors. The funding side, deposits grew by 9.7% to reach 2.76 billion. The deposit comprised of retail deposit share of 46%, corporate contributed 38% of the overall deposit, government and pension funds contributed 16% of the overall deposits. Capital adequacy ratio was 15.4% and CET1 9.9% post the proposed dividend. The net loan to deposit ratio remains stable at around 109%. LCR, liquidity coverage ratio, and NSFR, net stable funding ratio, was well above the regulatory levels. In 2024, the bank was honored with several prestigious awards reflecting the bank's commitment to excellence and innovation. Ali Bank was honored with Corporate Bank of the Year award in MENA Banking Excellence Awards. It was given 3 awards in the New Age Banking Summit, including Excellence in Private Banking, Excellence in Corporate Banking, and Excellence in Digital Transformation. And it was honored with 2 awards in Alam Al-Iqtisad Awards, namely Excellence in Corporate Banking and Innovative Solution and Best Performing Company Large Cap. With this, we come to the end of the first part of the presentation.
Okay, we'll move to the second part for the Q&A. Please, whoever want to ask a question or raise a comment, raise your hand. Okay. Please unmute yourself and go ahead, please. Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Bishan. Thank you so much for this call and for the presentation. Just a few queries. Firstly, congratulations on a good set of numbers. Just wanted to check, one comment from my side before I begin, sir. You reported your ROE, and it's good to see the bank growing its profitability and ROE. But if you could also just quickly mention your adjusted ROE, because there's a perpetual interest cost. And if I look at your notes for this year, the net profit reported, excuse me, is 41 million reals, 41.6, but there's also perpetual interest of 12.2 million reals. So the adjusted net profit is 30 million on the equity base. So ideally, it would be just prudent and fair to report an adjusted ROE. So the trend is growing, but the adjusted ROE, if per my calculation, sir, is 7.8%. So just wanted to highlight that if that's a correct sort of number from your side. Just wanted to confirm that.
Mr. Ravitri.
Yes, Bishan, the number is correct.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, appreciate it. Okay, moving on, sir. You know, I think the bank's done fairly well. The metrics look good. We've seen improvement in cost to income. We've seen overall profitability growing year on year, loan books growing. And, you know, we've seen in order to, you're actually one of the few banks that sort of, let me put it this way, maximizes your balance sheet because you keep asking for rights issue, but I get the rationale for that. So it's not like I'm saying it's a bad thing, but just one of those sort of things we've noticed for the second time now, where there's a dividend paid, and I understand it's a mixture of cash as well as MCBs, where there's a dividend paid and there's an immediate follow up with a rights issue. So if you could just give your quick comments on sort of, you know, one hand give cash, other hand take cash, that policy, or is it just as a corporate signaling action, you want to maintain a dividend policy and at the same time, the same shareholders are okay to then come back and inject capital into the company? If you could just comment on that, please.
Thank you, Vishan. You're absolutely right. Again, the bank has a dividends policy, and as you rightly said, the bank is trying to optimize its capital. And as we said several times, we have all the sort of support from the shareholders. And whenever the banks requires any additional capital for its growth, the shareholders was always there to support and inject capital. And again, as I said, it has to do with the dividends policies. There's various type of investors, right from small investors and institutional investors. So the bank is trying to address, and balance between various interests within its structured shareholding. So the 10% cash, the 10% dividends, of which 5 cash and 5 MCB. We have discussed also, we have introduced a year back this program, the MCB program, to ensure the banks has enough capital to sustain its future growth through the recycling of the MCB. MCB is a listed, and any investor who wants to liquidate and sell the MCB can do that and get the cash. Those who wish to have, retain their investment, then this MCB get converted after 2 years into a CET1. So that this whole thing is part of the capital plan, I would say endorsed by the board as well. So you're absolutely right. It is to do with the ensuring that we are meeting the expectation of our shareholders in terms of the dividends, but also at the same time ensuring the bank has sufficient capital for its expansion and future growth.
Noted, loud and clear. Thank you for that. Next question, if I look at your loan book split up, I think it's the highest in terms of the split between corporate and retail lending. I think the latest quarter figures are 73-37. Now, given the nature of that book, how do you see the current scenario and what are your thoughts on where the economy has sort of improved over the years? The ratings have come through. In general, how's the lending environment? Just wanted your view as a top banker in the economy.
Yeah, so what we're seeing in the market, obviously, we're coming out of COVID. We're coming out of a time when the economy was not doing well, and the interest rate scenario as well didn't help. But what we're seeing going forward, especially with the Sultan Haytham City coming in and a lot of the salaries being increased as well, is an uptake on the retail side. Just as much as the retail side, we're seeing similar on the corporate side as well, with the government announcing quite a lot of public-private partnerships and a lot of government contracts coming in, as well as a lot of FDI. We're seeing a lot of foreign direct investment coming in terms of industrial projects as well as tourism projects. So we're quite confident for 2025. There will be a continuous uptake on the lending, both on the retail and the corporate. In fact, we're seeing quite a lot coming more from the retail than it was historically. The corporate will still continue to do their double-digit growth as it is. The retail would be a little bit higher, I would say.
Okay, interesting. Now, historically, you obviously worked hard to improve on the CASA, but historically, CASA has been a sort of, let's say, concern area, or let's say with regards to peers, it's been on the lower side. Now, when I look at interest rates and how they've panned out, of course, we've seen the peak and hopefully that's past us, but the rate of decline of interest rates has not been as per plan and probably be a bit slower. In that event, sort of the higher cost of funding that probably you bore the brunt of most of 23 and 24, How do you see that panning out with sort of a pause now in interest rates and a wait and watch on the inflation before Fed takes its next steps? So how do you see that impacting your sort of cost of funding and overall NIMs and margins?
So actually, we're already starting to see the cost of funds coming down, but you'll understand that there's always a lag. So it doesn't mean that if international market rates come down, then Omani Riyal follows immediately. There's always a lag in how the rates come down. You would see that our strategy has been to diversify in terms of the low-cost deposits. And as Sriram mentioned, our retail deposits have already reached 46% of the book of the bank, which is mostly sticky and lower cost than on the wholesale. So this is done strategically. But we're already starting to see the cost of funds coming down gradually. And so we do expect an improvement in the NIM in 2025.
Okay, interesting. And with regards to sort of the duration of your deposits, did you sort of see a higher sort of or tendency to sort of lock in longer term deposits when the interest rates were high, or if you could just comment on that?
So a lot of them have already come to maturity, but obviously the ones that were maybe a 3-year plus tenor are still coming to maturity now. So as those come to maturity, obviously there will be a revision in pricing, and call account rates are things that we're able to revise anyway. So those gradually come down.
Okay, a last query before I go back in queue and let my peers ask their queries. With regards to provision coverage, we've seen, the overall cost of risk has come down in the sector, which is encouraging to see. With regards to provision coverage, if I look at your provision coverage specifically, it's on the lower side compared to the sector. So what's an aspirational provision coverage, and would that imply taking higher sort of provisions on the income statement? If you could just comment and give us some sort of flavor on that or some sort of guidance in that.
Yeah.
See, the provision coverage is around 80%. I mean, we were slightly lower than the previous year. It's because of a lot of loans being well covered with the collaterals. So we expect it to be around this range or to improve going on.
All right, and would it be wise to assume that this improvement would come through sort of higher provisions in the income statement?
Both by a higher provision as well as improvement in the NPL ratios.
We should just add, we have a robust IFRS model, and identifying and saying we want a specific provision percentage is not the right way. What we need to ensure that the IFRS model which we adopt and the CBO guidelines which we adopt are adhered to in the T, and we ensure that whatever is the appropriate provision reflecting the risk in the book is always taken off at any point in time.
No, I completely agree with that point. And with regards to IFRS compliance, I'm sure all the banks do a robust job. I'm just making a broad, let's say a layman comment, looking at the rest of the sector at 122% and Ali at 70%. It just struck out, so I thought I'll ask that. But that's it from my side. Thank you so much. If there's something else, I'll come back in queue and wish you all the best.
Thank you, Vishnu.
Okay, sure. From Vision Capital, please unmute yourself.
Yes, hi. Thank you for the opportunity. I'd like to continue on what Bishan's question was regarding the NPS and the coverage. We have seen a surge in the non-performing loans in the third quarter, and then this was somewhat negated in the fourth quarter. Why was this anomaly in the financials witnessed? Was there a particular loan went bad or something? If the management could guide us on it.
It is combination of all three factors which can affect a provision NPA. Your denominator grows in terms of your balance sheet, that reduces your NPA. You recover some, which we have done, which reduces it NPA. And we've also written off some NPAs because of, non-expectation of old NPAs which we were carrying. If you see historically, we had not written off NPAs. But when this year we wrote off some NPAs, especially those which happened 5 years, 10 years, which we were carrying 100% provision on them. So it's a combination of all three.
Right. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay. Any other question? Bishan, still you have any question? Okay, Joyce, Matthew, please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon, gentlemen. Thank you for the presentation. See, I have a specific question on your other operating income, which has increased significantly during this year, and especially during the second half of the year. And what I've noticed is there's an unrealized gain of around 6 million, more than 6 million at the end of the year. So could you please throw some light on what's the nature of this investment, and is it already booked, or is it continues to remain unrealized?
So this is unrealized on the M2M valuation of some of the bonds which you are holding in the in our book as of 31st December. This is still unrealized. We know this is one-off, and we don't see this. Year on year. That's why I said our other operating income ratio. Was for 31%, including this. Excluding this, still we are growing in the other operating income.
All right, thank you. Another one I have is on your margins. Your margins has declined by almost 35 bits during this year. Could you please throw some light on how do you see the margins behaving in going forward?
See, we already have seen the repricing, as Hannah mentioned. We've seen the repricing of many of our time deposits that has come through in the last quarter of this year. We expect the margin to improve from Q1 2025 onwards.
Just to add, see, 2024 was quite a challenging year in terms of the cost of funds. However, towards the end of the 2024, we saw 3 cuts. Fed has cut the rate 50 basis and then 25 and 25 basis. So at least we are starting the year with a reduction of around 100 basis points in the Fed rate. We do expect 2025 will be a better year in terms of NIM. Hannah and Shiram, they mentioned that we've seen rationalization in the cost of funding already. And we do expect 2025 to be a better year in terms of our NIM. So we should see an improvement, but I'm not sure if we will regain the entire 35% in 2025 itself. But definitely there will be an improvement in the NIM.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And how do you see the yield on assets? Because that has remained relatively stable during the couple of years. So do you expect the yield to remain stable or move somewhat, maybe up or down?
There will be a pressure on the yield on assets. As Hannah has mentioned, there is a time lag, but definitely we've seen some competitive pricing already on the asset side. However, we do expect we'll be able to reduce our cost by a higher margin compared to the reduction on the yield on the assets.
Okay, got it. Thank you very much. Wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Jasim Hamdan.
السلام عليكم أخ سعيد وأخي الله يعطيكم الخير. اسمح لي نسيت الاسم بعض الأحيان. حبيب، لا حبيب، حياكم الله وسهلا. أنا سعيد أكون موجود معكم. الحقيقة كنت بالسيارة قبل شوية، فالحين بس دخلت المكتب. سؤال بسيط أخي سعيد. بالنسبة أنا قبل شوية يمكن فتحت حساب الأرباح والخسائر الحقيقة والميزانية العمومية للبنك. سمعت الحين قبل شويه، لاحظت يعني بعض البيانات ومن ضمنها اللي هو الاذر انكم اللي هو خلينا نقول دخل بحدود ذكرى الاخ هذا اللي هو المحلل قبل شويه حوالي لحظه خلينا نشوف يعني البيانات الماليه مالتهم مع الارباح والخسائر حوالي من 3 مليون 0.4 الى 10 1.98 يعني حوالي 7 مليون اللي كان له تاثير ايجابي على ربح البنك. طبعا البنوك كلها تعتمد على الفوائد وتعتمد على العمولات، فهي معظم يعني اساسيات البنك هي يعني يمكن تكون اللي هي الفوائد بعد ما القروض والودائع. فحبيت اسالك هذا قبل اخي سعيد، هو اثر ايجابي على اداء البنك؟ يعني ارتفاع ربح البنك من 36 مليون الى 41 مليون، حوالي اكثر من 5 مليون تقريبا. هذا اللي هو الايراد اللي هو من 3.4 الى 10 حوالي 7 مليون تقريبا. فيا ريت لو تعطيني شويه نبذه عن ايش هذا اللي حصل بالضبط، فاكون شاكر لك.
أعتقد إذا سمعت الإجابة قبل شوية كانت عن نفس السؤال. Other operating income increase in different lines of streams of revenues. One of them is the realization of FTD.
لحظه اخي سعيد، ممكن ترد علي بالعربي؟ الله يخليك، انا سالتك بالعربي، فاتمنى على اساس حتى الاخوان هذا المحللين يمكن استثمار البنك معظمهم استثمار محلي، ونحن كعمانيين يمكن، فاتمنى ترد علي بالعربي يعني، اكون شاكر لك.
تمام. طبعا يعني مثل ما تفضل البنك عوائد، يعني مدخولات البنك تنقسم الى عده فئات. من ضمن الفئات طبعا اغلب الفئات كان فيه ارتفاع من ناحيه المدخول، لكن يمكن السؤال اللي كان سؤال قبل شويه عن موضوع السندات. السندات نقيمهن على سعر السوق، على السعر الحقيقي للسوق. فكان في من ضمن يعني الدخولات او اللي البنك حققها خلال هذه السنه، اللي هو فروقات بين قيمه هذا السندات وقيمتها الشرائيه وقيمتها المتداوله في السوق حاليا. طبعا هي تتاثر بمنحنى معدل الفائده، فلما يرتفع الفائده او تنخفض الفائده تقييم السندات يعني تتبع معدل الفائده.
يعني اخي سعيد، يعني هذا ما له علاقه بالنورمال بانكينج، بالنظام المالي العادي اللي هو نحن بنقول الفوائد على حساب القروض والودائع، اللي هو الفرق، هو له دور كبير في ربحيه البنك. طبعا اعتقد معظم، انا كانسان متابع للامور اللي هي الشركات المساهمه العامه، خصوصا البنوك بشكل عام، يمكن هي نشوف معظم البنوك الصغيره استاثرت بحساب اللي هم الايرادات الودائع. طبعا هذا مربوط يمكن اسعار الفائده العاليه. يعني فبالتالي عندكم السنه الماضيه والسنه هذه تاثرتوا كثير. نفس الشيء بالنسبه للعملات، هي تقريبا نفس السنه الماضيه. فمعناته ان البنك يعني في صعوبه انه يعني مثل ما تقول يحافظ على هذه الارباح بشكل عام يعني.
وجدت مثل ما يعني تكلمنا المره الماضيه وفي السنوات الماضيه، 2024 كانت سنه صعبه من ناحيه معدل الفائده عالميا، مش بس في عمان ومش بس بالبنك الاهلي. معدل الفائده مرتفع، كان يعني من يعني اعلى السنوات. لكن على نهايه السنه الماضيه في 24 الفيدرالي نزل معدل الفائده 3 مرات، مرة بنص بالمية ومرتين بربع بالمية. وفي اليوم احنا نتكلم عن انه يعني المعدل الفائدة الفيدرالي تقريبا 100 نقطة اقل عن الوضع اللي كان فيه في 24. فنتوقع ان شاء الله خلال هذه السنة 25 في تحسن ملحوظ بيكون في من ناحية تكاليف الايداعات وتكاليف التمويل بالنسبة للبنك.
عفوا اخي سعيد، لكن ترى هي نحن على اساس الامور المحليه، انا حاليا صار اندماج بنكين هناك وصار عندهم قوه من ناحيه السيوله. فانت كبنك على اساس انك تنافس، تعرف الودائع، الناس معظم الناس يمكن حسابات التوفير يمكن على مستوى البنك عندكم يمكن اخر 3-4 سنين، انا يمكن ما حط، يمكن اعتقد ما فيها زياده ذيك اللي لها دور كثير في عمليه الودائع. حسابات الودائع الثابته دائما فيها تنافس. يمكن البنك بما انه بنك يعتبر صغير، وكل البنوك الصغيره بيكون عندها صعوبه ان على اساس ان تعمل بالانس ما بين الودائع والقروض مالها، تضطر تعطي مثل ما تقول اسعار فائده عاليه على اساس ان تحافظ، وعلى اساس ان تحافظ على النسبه المطلوبه. فبالتالي هذه الامور كلها داخليه، يعني بغض النظر عن الاشياء العالميه. وبعدين حتى بالنسبه للقروض، نحن يمكن الوضع الاقتصادي بشكل عام عندنا وضع مثل ما تقول الحمد لله، نشكر ربنا والحمد على الاشياء هذه، لكن لازم البنوك تدعم اللي هو الشركات هنا. فالشركات تحتاج لفوائد اقل، فانت اذا كبنك مضطر تعطي فوائد عاليه، فما بتقدر تنافس. هناك عندنا بنكين صاروا كبيرات عندهم سيوله يعني لا باس فيها، فاعتقد هذا الموضوع اللي هو يمكن الفوائد دخل الفائده دائما بيكون صعب بالنسبه للبنوك الصغيره. هو كان في افكار كثيره، يعني السنه الماضيه كنا شفنا كثير محاوله لبعض البنوك الصغيره على اساس انها تندمج وتاخذ بنك الاهلي، يمكن ما صار لظروف معينه. شفنا بنك ثاني صار في اندماج والحمد لله اثر ايجابي كثير. يمكن احنا بنشوف ان شاء الله مستقبلا اكيد في اندماجات ان شاء الله، لان اعتقد محتاجين لهذه الاندماجات، لكن مشكلتنا يمكن في الادارات التنفيذيه ومجالس الادارات في الشركات سواء البنوك او سواء المساهمات العامه، يمكن لازم يكون لهم دور ايجابي اكبر يعني. فاتمنى ان شاء الله يعني مثل ما الحين تكلمنا عن الاساسيات البنك وتكلمنا عن الارقام الموجوده في البنك، بالنسبه لي يعني كثير اعتقد من اي انسان اقتصادي فاهم بيشوفها في صعوبه. عموما بالنسبه اليوم فاجئنا بعد اللي هو بالنسبه لنا نحن صغار المساهمين، يعني البنك الاهلي معظم البنوك معظمها يمكن تكون صناديق اللي هي السياديه والشركات السياديه تملك معظم البنوك عندنا. فنحن كصغار مساهمين يمكن نملك 5 او 10% من اسهم هذه البنوك. فلما يمكن نحاول قدر ما يمكن نعطي ارائنا، يمكن ما بهذيك الدرجه يمكن دور فعال. فالحين انتم لما انا يمكن حضرت الجمعيه العامه السنه الماضيه، وكان بالنسبه لي توزيع الارباح كان 5% اسهم، 5% كان ارباح نقدي، و5% كان عباره عن اللي هي مثل ما نقول احنا سندات متحوله خلال سنتين ندفع 145 بيسه. طبعا من يتاثر بهذه الامور؟ لان انا يمكن اقترحت على مجلس الاداره يصدروا سندات، يصدروا اسهم مجانيه. فنفس لما يكون النسبه يمكن البنك المركزي متطلبات على اساس انها تكون نسبه متعادله. فاعتقد حسب رايي الشخصي كان السندات هي في المستوى نفس الموسم، لكن بيكون تكلفتها بالنسبه لنا صغار المساهمين عن 145 بيسه كانت اثرت عليهم. طبعا المؤسسات الماليه الكبيره صناديق التقاعد ما تاثر بهذه الامور. نفس الحاله الحين طلبتوا زياده براس المال، وبعدين حتى بالنسبه لي فهذه الامور كلها انا اعتقد كانسان مالي وفاهم في الامور الماليه بشكل بسيط انها اثار سلبيه علينا احنا كمساهمين الصغار.
تمام، شكرا اخي جاسم، ملاحظاتك يعني بناخذها ان شاء الله في عين الاعتبار لما الاخوه في مجلس الاداره يقرروا بخصوص هذه الامور مستقبلا ان شاء الله.
شكرا اخي سعيد، نتمنى لكم التوفيق انت وزملائك ان شاء الله.
شكرا.
Any other questions before concluding the session? Okay, thank you very much.
عفوا حبيب اخي، عفوا جاسم مره ثانيه. انا يمكن اليوم كنت معك الحقيقه، يعني يمكن اخي سعيد ابغى اشكر الاخ حبيب على تفاعله معنا نحن كصغار المساهمين. يعني يمكن اشغال حبيب يمكن بعض الشركات المساهمه العامه، يمكن هو مدير علاقات المستثمرين بالاضافه لاشغال كثيره عنده يمكن. فحبيت اشكره الحقيقه، من الشباب المتميزين، اتمنى التوفيق. وذكرت له الحقيقه يعني هذه النقاشات انا اعتقد حتى الاخوان في البورصه المفروض يكون في الشباب اللي عندنا في الجامعات في نهايه السنه، او حتى الناس اللي هم خريجين اقتصاد، اتمنى يكون ان شاء الله لهم مشاركه في هذه الامور النقاشات. الحين انا اذكرها معاكم على الهواء مع النقاش هذا، واكيد ان شاء الله بكون مع الاخوان سواء بالخدمات الماليه والاخوان في البورصه. نتمنى نشوف شباب اللي هم ويكونوا قارئين للارقام هذه ويشاركونا في التحاليل هذه ان شاء الله بعون الله. واسمحوا لي للزياده عن الكلام.
شكرا جاسم.
شكرا جاسم.
الله يخليكم، حياكم الله.